We have so much tech news to talk about today, including AMD getting hacked, Nvidia becoming the most valuable company in the world, but also a lawsuit popping back up against them, Intel having their own troubles, and some more information on that. And we've got the Windows on ARM laptops are out there, and we have some performance numbers. Is everything it's all cracked up to be? And a whole bunch more. Let's hop back to this. So breaking today is that AMD witnessed a data breach after a major hack. There's an investigation underway with the help of law enforcement agencies. Some information has been released by the hackers to kind of prove they have stuff. And it could include things like ROMs, firmware, source code, property files, employee databases, customer databases, financial information, future AMD product plans, technical specs, sheets, etc. However, at this point, it's unclear exactly how this might affect people. I think it's unclear exactly what they have and their proof behind it. AMD's official statement at this time is, we are aware of a cyber criminal organization claiming to be in possession of stolen AMD data. We are working closely with law enforcement officials and a third-party hosting partner to investigate the claim and the significance of the data. So basically, at this point, I think it's too early to know exactly what the extent of this is going to be. We're more in the breaking news stage of, hey, some stuff could be out there. Hopefully, I feel bad if there's employee information out there or anything like that. So at this point, I think just kind of stay tuned, and I'm sure we'll learn more in the coming days. Nvidia is having much, happier headlines, with Nvidia eclipses Microsoft as the world's most valuable company. If you asked people a couple years ago whether a graphics card maker would be the most valuable company in the world, just a couple years later, don't think most people saw quite the boom that AI would have, because that's definitely where this is coming from. It's from the boom in the AI demand. Nvidia's market cap has reached over $3.3 trillion as the stock rallies, reported by Reuters here. By the way, all of my sources will be linked in the video description. Nvidia's stock has nearly tripled in 2024 alone. Look at this graph, okay? Nvidia's stock market value is in green. Apple's is in the kind of orange-red here, and Microsoft in blue. We see Nvidia taking the top spot right there. But check out where we were in July of 2023. And we're just kind of clipping along here, and then in January of 2024, we have seen, boom, AI happened. So, is this a bust? Does AI end up not delivering it's interesting to see what happens, because last time, not to the same level, but last time, Nvidia's stock was taking a big boom, was crypto related. Crypto ended up being more of a bust, and that relates into the more negative headline we're seeing for Nvidia as well, which is Nvidia's crypto mining lawsuit takes a new turn. This had been dismissed, but it's been kind of reopened or appealed to a higher level. I'm not a legal expert, but it looks like the U.S. Supreme Court will hear the firm's plea. This crypto mining lawsuit came down to when the crypto boom took place, leading to massive demand for gaming graphics cards. Nvidia was reporting that those sales under its gaming division, right? They're gaming graphics cards, but the demand may have been related to crypto rather than gaming, I think is the complaint. So basically, a group of investors in 2019 filed a class action lawsuit against Nvidia, claiming the firm was responsible for downplaying the importance of the revenue stream from the crypto mining boom. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see what comes of this, but crypto mining is kind of that's a couple years ago, man. Right now we're on the AI boom, so we'll see if this one's a bit more sticky in terms of maintaining that level of demand over time. Intel's been having their own trouble lately, talking about the 13th and 14th gen CPU instability issues. A little while ago, a few days ago, there was a bunch of headlines saying that Intel had identified the root cause of the issue. However, that appears to have been a bit of jumping the gun by, I think it came from Igor's lab, or is that Igor's lab? I don't know how to pronounce words. Anyway, um, saying that apparently there was a power-related bug, but that isn't the root cause of the general instability that they're seeing. So it was a problem that they found in relation to their investigation, but it is not the overall root cause of the entire thing. That was with ETVB, their Enhanced Thermal Velocity Boost algorithm. Apparently, the bug was that while it should automatically increase CPU clock frequency, it should only do it when operating below a certain temperature, and apparently wasn't doing that properly. And to address the ETVB bug, Intel has released a patch to motherboard manufacturers, and patches should roll out in the form of BIOS updates before July 19th. So keep your eye out for that if you're on one of these platforms. In the meantime, Intel has provided a table of recommended power delivery settings for its 13th and 14th gen desktop CPUs. So this clears everything up on how you're supposed to be using your CPU, right? Yeah, this totally makes it really obvious exactly how you should be using and how reviewers should be reviewing these, right? Fortunately, Hardware Unboxed has done updated testing of the performance mode versus the extreme mode for at least the 14900K. And I'm not going to show you all of their results because they also showed this up against the 7800X 3D. This video will be linked in my video description, and you should check out the content. It's a very interesting piece if you're interested in how all of this is affecting Intel CPU performance and power consumption and all of that. But if you just want to see the difference between the extreme profile and the performance profile, it looks like about 3% on average. However, some games are affected by almost 7%. So, depending on the game, it could be a little more extreme of a difference. However, nothing absolutely wildly mind-blowing, and running on the more, power-restricted setting can actually help the efficiency pretty considerably. So it might actually be a more efficient way to run the CPU, but you do lose some performance compared to how the CPUs would have been reviewed at launch, which is a big downside to all of this. Now, Hardware Unboxed are mentioning a potential issue where it's possible that Intel could be trying to use all of this to obfuscate, warranty claims related to this, where they could just say, no, it's not a warranty issue, you just need to be running in a different profile, even if that profile doesn't deliver you the performance that they would have claimed in reviews and marketing materials when these CPUs launched. So we'll have to kind of see what comes of all of that. But the other big news in the processor world is, what about Windows on ARM? These laptops should be out now. How are they actually performing? Well, the headline based on some initial roundup here at videocards.com is that the first Qualcomm Snapdragon X, those are the ARM-based Windows laptops, are tested in gaming, and the 3D performance is disappointing. However, I don't think, let's be clear that gaming wasn't really going to be the primary, headlining feature of these laptops. The real big push was to see if they would be a lot more efficient, power efficient, by moving to ARM. So I've been taking a look at the roundup on some of this stuff. You can get some performance data from a variety of places, and I've reported on some of the hardware details and things like that in the past. However, there might not be as many reviews out there as you might have expected. And part of that appears to be, we've got this tweet here saying, for those wondering where all the Copilot Plus PC reviews are, after the recall debacle, which I've reported on as well, where Microsoft wanted to snapshot everything you do on your PC every few seconds and just save all of that information in plain text, and then got a whole bunch of pushback against that. Anyway, rightly so. Watch my other videos on that if you're curious on that and don't have the full story there. But anyway, after that debacle, it says Microsoft told OEMs, so the laptop manufacturers, to hold review units until June 18th. So that's yesterday as of the time of releasing this video. So it could put together a new ZDP that removes recall and adds fixes. So most media outlets are only just getting review devices today, which as of the time of that tweet was June 18th. So that's why there's maybe not as extensive and a wide variety of reviews out there as you may have expected for what seems to be being pushed as a massive revolution in, Windows on ARM. Now, I did check out a few of the reviews that are out there, including this one over here at Notebook Check Reviews of the Asus VivoBook S15. Now, one thing to note here is that a lot of these initial ones seem to be using the lower end, the smaller Qualcomm X Elite chip. There's more powerful ones that some of the marketing slides were talking about, but it seems like the actual, at least initial wave of these laptops, at least the ones I'm seeing reviews on, seem to be using one of these more cut down versions. And the GPU inside also appears to be a cut down GPU, but again, that seems to be what's actually out there. So this is the review unit that Notebook Check Reviews had, and I'm not going to show you all of their slides because, again, check out their actual full content for full details, but just to give you a rough picture of some of what's going on here. In 3D Mark synthetic benchmarks, up against integrated graphics from AMD and Intel, even their previous generation stuff that's all going to get updated this year, this ARM-based CPU was coming in at the bottom of the pack, although not, worlds apart compared to at least some of these processors. Again, this isn't the highest end ARM CPU. In actual gaming performance, there's more games on this full review. Please go ahead and check it out. But again, in games like Witcher 3, 1080p ultra graphics settings, again, coming in kind of at the bottom of the pack here. Obviously, you could turn down settings further to try to get a more playable situation here. But the real disappointment here isn't that the gaming performance isn't great, because I think that was going to be one of the hardest things for them to manage initially anyway. But the whole point of these was supposed to be to get the battery life to massively improve. And while the battery life doesn't seem bad by any margin, notice that it's not, at least in this specific Wi-Fi and web surfing test that Notebook Check runs at 150 nits display brightness, it's not worlds apart from other Windows laptops running AMD and Intel CPUs. It's a little better, but not by much, and it's still significantly trailing the Apple MacBook Pro 14 and Air 15. So it doesn't seem to be quite that revolution that we were maybe hoping for. Also, when I kind of go back to the overall review that they had here, if you go to kind of the summary section and listen to what they had to say, their overall thoughts was that, compatibility in general use for Windows on ARM seemed fairly good, but they actually said that, like, you generally can't tell that you're using an ARM-based laptop, which is a good thing and a bad thing, meaning it's a good thing in that there wasn't a lot of compatibility issues that they ran into in their initial testing. However, it's a bad thing in the sense that it also didn't seem to be that much more battery efficient or that run that much cooler or perform that much better than what we already had for Windows on x86 with Intel and AMD offerings. In other words, there doesn't seem to be anything, at least in this particular test, indicating that this is anything like some kind of revolution in Windows, performance or anything like that. But, personally, I still think that the long-term future of this kind of thing might be being missed by some people as far as what, in my opinion, would be the most interesting use case. What if your phone running an ARM-based CPU was also basically a laptop that could just run a full version of Windows, plug into a keyboard, mouse, and monitor when you get to work, and you literally just have a fully functioning Windows laptop with competitive performance. That's the kind of future of Windows on ARM that I'm looking for, is basically eliminate the need to have a laptop separate from your phone. At least, for one use case, where you could just dock your ARM-based phone, and it is a fully functional laptop. That would be interesting to me. Now, I actually found testing something sort of like that. It's really not that, but I found this test interesting, and I want to talk about it. I found this at Notebook Check, but they seem to be referencing testing done by ETA Prime, where they actually have a Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra phone. So this is clearly, again, not running Windows, but it's running an emulator called Winlator and running Windows PC games. Again, not the latest and greatest titles, It looks like they were testing out titles like Fallout 4, Far Cry, Elder Scrolls Oblivion, BioShock Remastered, but some of them could run at steady 60 FPS on on an ARM-based Android phone with the Galaxy S24 Ultra running through an emulator. So again, I still think there could be a future where you plug your phone into peripherals and it's running a full version of Windows that actually runs pretty well. I'm curious if we'll see a future like that a few years down the road. Is the Windows Phone coming back, guys? Anyway, there's no indication. I haven't seen any indication from Microsoft that that's their thought process. But for me, I think that would be interesting. Could you just eliminate having a whole laptop as a separate device? Because I think a lot of people just use their phone for everything. A lot of people do not have a computer. A phone does everything. Anyway. AMD Radeon 890M RDNA 3.5 iGPU could be causing further shakeups in the mobile performance segment. So if we're already seeing the ARM-based chips, struggling compete with last generation AMD and Intel-based processors, what happens when AMD releases their 890M this year? Because this is looking interesting. According to a laptop maker, this is GPD apparently sharing this performance information, which is not, I think, supposed to being shared at this point in time. But this is straight from a laptop maker, which should have access to this kind of information. That being said, this is not third-party reviews or anything like that, but I'm finding this here at videocards.com. Where apparently the 890M could be 36% faster than the previous generation 780M in gaming. And it actually has some more information than that. The CPU in these things is also gonna look pretty performant, where in single-thread Cinebench 2024, here, I'm gonna become the mouse pointer. We're seeing the Ryzen AI9 HX370, which would have this, be this next generation of mobile chip, competing with the Ryzen 9 7950X desktop CPU, I believe, in single-thread performance, basically matching it in Cinebench 2024, and actually beating, but this is a different CPU here, so careful, the 2 generations back 5950X desktop CPU in multi-core. But that is a 16-core, 32-thread, 5950X CPU. This is what I actually use in my editing PC. This is actually what's in the PC I'm recording on right now, is a 5950X. And they're claiming better multi-thread performance in that. Now, when you get into the gaming performance claims, they are claiming that it has pretty significant performance up again in 3D Mark TimeSpy at least, getting extremely close to an RTX 3050 dedicated GPU. Now, that's the laptop 3050, but still, and running at 50 watts. But the GPD Duo, apparently running the 890M, is hot on its tails at running at 54 watts, beating a 2050 laptop running at 45 watts, and significantly ahead of the GPD WinMax 2 running the 780M at 72 watts. And if you reduce the 780M down to 54 watts, which is where they're running the GPD Duo 890M, it's a massive improvement. Look at that, 4221 versus 2791. Now, so overall, if you look at the percentage differences as videocards.com has done here, that shows the 890M based system reaching 94% of the performance of the 3050, and whereas the older platforms like a 780M based system here running at 54 watts, only reaching 64% of the performance of that 3050. In other words, some pretty massive performance differences. Now, some of that is improvements to the GPU, but some of it is the fact that it's running faster memory. Because a lot of these integrated graphics can get very memory bandwidth bottlenecked. So the move to LPDDR5 7500 memory could be helping significantly in these major performance benefits here. So that's pretty cool. Now, if you're interested in the next generation of AMD desktop CPUs, we have some, kind of leaked information, but who knows if this actually ends up being the case. So we're getting the headline that Ryzen 9000 desktop CPUs are listed online at some retailers, and some retailers are listing pricing. Whether that actually ends up being their price when they launch is still up for debate. And also the date for availability at some of these online listings is the 31st of July. So again, this is not confirmed information from AMD. This is looking at listings popping up online for these at retailers. Apparently, the Ryzen 9 9950X could potentially cost around $600. So if you dig into the information here at WCCF Tech, they see Canada Computers listing the 9950X for $839 Canadian. So once you do that conversion, that comes out to $522. Sorry, no, never mind. Sorry, that comes out to a different value in US. So they're comparing it to where the previous generation chip launched. Okay, I see what they're saying here. So they're converting to the show that when you convert things down, the $839 Canadian to US listing, it's $610 US, which is $90 less than the previous generation 7950X launched for. But again, this is reading a lot into a listing that's not really officially available yet. It's not the only place that things are being listed online. There's also Burmore Zone, a retailer based in the Philippines, listed these CPUs with preliminary pricing, where we're seeing the Ryzen 9 9950X at 38,000 pesos, which would convert to, here, I'm going to be tiny again. I am the pointer. Which is 647, basically 650 bucks. The Ryzen 9 9900X would convert to about $600 US. The 9700X converts to a little over $400 US, and the 9600X converts to a little over $300 US. But again, that's converting a local currency from a listing that's not even, really at its available price at this time. So, we can only read so much into that, but, we'll have to see what things actually cost when we get them. In the meantime, the previous generation parts are seeing their prices slashed, which means that when those 9000 series products launch, there's a good chance that the 7000 series products at reduced pricing might actually be the better deal for a lot of people. So, so, yeah, we'll have to see what comes of it, especially with the X3D parts getting their prices slashed quite a bit, because the 9000 series parts, non-X3D, which are the ones that have actually been announced and will be coming soon, are being described by AMD as not beating the performance of the 7000 series X3D in gaming. So if your priority is gaming, these reduced priced 7000 series X3D chips might still be where the best bang for the buck lies. And my kids sound like they've finished eating their lunch, so they're running around on the floor playing again. So we'll finish out the video with the traditional background noise on the channel, which again is how we roll. All right, TSMC is apparently beginning production for 3 nanometer parts for Intel's CPUs. Now, if you're kind of out of the loop on this, it looks like Intel's Lunar Lake CPUs and some of the Arrow Lake tiles will be being produced by TSMC on their foundry rather than Intel's foundry. That could help with the power efficiency if Intel's available production just isn't really up to the same power efficiency standards and performance that TSMC is. So it's looking like that might be in production according to, I got this at Tech Power Up, but they're quoting Industry Observer DigiTimes. So make of that what you will. Apparently, though, the 3 nanometer pricing could be increased by 5%. This is rumored, so not necessarily official. Their advanced packaging could go up 20%. So producing stuff at TSMC could be getting more expensive, which, there's a lot of demand for their production, especially with all the AI focus on things. So that, unfortunately, could just trickle down to bad prices on consumer products as TSMC increases pricing. Then if AMD, Intel, Nvidia all want to maintain profit margins, then then they would charge more, and then that trickles down to consumers. So that's not great. Although Intel's own Intel 3 process node has apparently been detailed, showing off 18% more performance at the same power level, 10% higher density, and shipping with Xeon 6 CPUs now. Although these are first-party claims, so we'll have to see, what comes of that when these actually get into consumer chips. In other news, more software related, we're seeing Nvidia release GeForce Experience 3.28, which is their first update to GeForce Experience since November of 2023, adding 122 game optimization profiles. So that seems to be the big push with the new GeForce Experience update. There's also some bug fixes and things like that. So there's that. Now, more in the other just interesting hardware I'm seeing being pushed out lately. CoolerMaster's Fanless X Silent 850 watt PSU is listed for $399. However, well, that seems very expensive for an 850 watt PSU. Apparently, it's being bundled with a free monitor. The monitor is I think about a $250 list price. When you take a look at it, it's the CoolerMaster CM27 CFX 27-inch gaming monitor. Apparently that, again, according to this article at least, is lists for about $249. So if you're interested in a fanless power supply for some quiet gaming, this could actually be pretty interesting to get an 850 watt, so high performance but still fanless design. Now, what you need 850 watts for that you could still also run fanless, I don't know. But if you need a low noise floor for whatever else it is you're doing, there you go. Now, in other interesting designs, I'm seeing an RTX 4070 GPU in an ITX form factor with a pink fan. So this one's definitely standing out as a pretty unique product here. And just in general, other than just the pink fan design and all that, I think it's really interesting to get a 4070 in an ITX form factor because, honestly, NVIDIA's 40 series is incredibly energy efficient. But a lot of the cooler models are still very big. So while that's great in terms of, running cool and quiet, if you want to build a small PC, I think there's a lot of room for some much, much smaller GPU coolers. And that's what we're seeing here. So I'd like to see more of these tiny designs to open up some interesting, small form factor PCs. In other interesting GPU designs I'm seeing, we're seeing XFX Radeon RX 7900 XTX and 7800 XT MagAir GPUs, which their MagAir is the magnetic swappable fans. So you can basically, it looks like, pop off the fans and replace them with other designs magnetically, which, seems pretty cool. I'm all for more interesting, things to set apart different GPU designs. Now, in other news, we're seeing AFOX, which I think is more of a China region situation. But they're launching an RTX 4090D with blower fan, and apparently a long overdue Radeon RX 6X50 update. So the 4090D in the blower design, I think, could be interesting for, Chinese region workstation products and things like that. Because, again, we needed the 4090D to comply with, regulatory stuff about how powerful can you ship something to China. Now, we're seeing Gunnar launching an ARC A750 with an Elden Ring edition. So if you're really into Elden Ring and you want to buy an ARC A750, which is listed on Elden Ring's new expansion packs for Shadow of the Erdtree for their system requirements, one of the main updates to their system requirements was the Intel ARC A750 is listed as a recommended GPU for the game. Now, I haven't tested it to see how well it actually performs, but Gunnar must be pretty confident, given that they're given this kind of branding on the actual GPU design. So that's kind of cool. Now, in the From Software and PC side of things, I have to mention this. Bloodborne is one of my favorite games of all time. I bought a PlayStation 4 specifically just to play Bloodborne. I would love if there was a PC version to revisit that could have just massively better performance and, whatever. Anyway. A Bloodborne PC port is not something that the From Software, head Hidetaka Miyazaki is opposed to, but the ball seems to be in Sony's court. So basically, there was a quote that Hidetaka Miyazaki revealed that other people at From Software, such as producer Yashuri Kitao, I'm probably butchering names, I apologize, anyway, would want a PC port. He added that he would get in trouble if he said he wanted it as well. So he's like, I can't tell you, I would get in trouble if I said I would that I want one, but I'm not opposed to it. Elaborating further, he added that being one of the Bloodborne creators, he would love more players to be able to enjoy it, especially as a game that is now coming of age and is stuck on older hardware. This sounds great. So basically, it's clear that everything's on Sony. So if Sony, does Sony not understand how many PC players would want to play Bloodborne? I think they would have an incredible sales hit on their hands if they would put a PC port of Bloodborne out there. Do they understand how much money they're just sitting on if they would just produce this thing? Anyway, that's what I've got for you guys today. Hopefully you guys found the video useful and or interesting. Today's video is brought to you by my channel members who have clicked the join button to directly support the channel financially. Huge appreciation to everybody who's willing to do that. Trying to get more behind the scenes content out for members over the summer when I have some more free time. We had some recent early access to some of my videos when it doesn't make sense to post 2 videos on the main feed in the same day, all that kind of stuff. So huge thanks, but totally understand nobody's in a financial position to do that. So thank you to viewers, subscribers, commenters, everybody. You're all what makes this channel possible. So massive thank you to everybody, and hope all of you have an excellent day.